Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
We had some other interesting discussion with Justice Kanyeihamba. He never runs out of words. There will always be stories that will even go back to 1960s. So we delayed for those few seconds to ensure that we clear that as well. I cannot thank you enough. Thanks once again for tuning in to Alternative Uganda on our social media page, and also Alternative Digitalk TV, and later on Alternative Uganda also on our YouTube channel. We are with Justice Kanyeihamba this Wednesday. As always, every Wednesday we have him to take us through the constitutional history and any other topical discussions as they run between when we meet him and the following week. Justice Kanyeihamba, say hello to our viewers, and then we shall begin straight away.
Good morning, viewers. Very nice to be with you once again.
Thank you. Justice Kanyeihamba, to begin with, I want you to, I know you are aware that one of Uganda's icons passed on, and that is none other than Semo Gerere. Myself, I had thought he was Semo Gerere at first. Little did I know it was SMO, not Semo Gerere. And I discovered that just of late.
It's very strange.
You worked with him as minister, I'm sure.
I worked with him as minister. I worked with him when I was first appointed as presidential advisor, senior presidential advisor. I remember we went to Paris together when Winnie was our representative there, and we were there on the business of Rwanda to mediate between Rwandese fighting factions. I was with him, and he was a very sober, I think not always imaginative leader in Uganda. But he did his bit. He was very committed to his cause of democracy, the rule of law. But his political judgment was always not very, very understood. I certainly didn't understand.
What do you mean his political judgment was never understood?
Because you see, he was the leader of the Democratic Party. But he served under Museveni as foreign minister for 9 years.
And also as Minister Internal Affairs.
Like, I don't know what's wrong with the DP leaders. The first great leader, Chiwanuka, lost the election. In Africa at that time, nobody loses the election when you are in charge. Second, you know, Mao has joined the NRM. He can never win for DP as its president. In fact, even when he's working for the opposition.
At the barrier, he didn't even surface. I want to believe it was.
So, unfortunately, I have a photograph of Paul Semo Gerere we were friends together, but not politically. And as long as he was a leader, I could never join NRM because I thought, rather, I could never join DP because I thought NRM was much brighter, more forward-looking. The election was very weak politically. People, when you are a leader, they just worship you without knowing. If they had asked me, should Semugeri be the leader of a political party, I would say no.
Why?
Is it too gentle?
And you promoting the radicalism in politics, why wouldn't we have a gentle person leading a political party? You are now, you want to sound militant.
If you have somebody who says nothing, that person will never break history. You have to be controversial like she's a BCG. You have to be there, hard-working, like Shagulani used to be. I don't know what happened to him. We have 3 people now in Uganda. The leader of the FDS,
Amuriat.
We have Chiza BCG. We have Rushamuzi. They were very, very high up politically. You don't hear much about them. People who are politically astute, who are politically active, are people like Chiza BCG. He has never been silenced. Even when they didn't elect him, he didn't stand as leader of FDC. But do you hear anything more about
the present leader of FDC?
Mugisha with his aunt, ANT. Some people think our aunt, meaning the relative woman, who is the equivalent of uncle. Nobody knows. What is aunt? Nobody knows. Since Amriat
took
became
charge,
the leader of FDC, we no longer hear anything. They have phased away. So, for me, I predicted that nobody in FDC could rival the charisma and the leadership of Chiza BCG. And he was right. Secondly, as long as Semugeri was leader, I thought he could never lead this country because of his gentleness. He was a gentle giant. Remember people who have been seconds in Uganda achieve very little. Babiha, the late Babiha.
John, you mean John Babi?
Deputy chief, he didn't do much. Nadiope was at one time, I think, vice president or whatever. Never achieved much. Because of the way the leadership of people like Museveni, people like Chiza BCG, they overswamp everybody else. They seem to swamp them aside. Today, Chiza BCG is not holding any office as far as I know. But his name is mentioned every time, and those who fear him tremble. But who is Amrit? I heard him once walking barefoot.
During the campaigns.
That's the best news that the people have ever heard of Amrit. This Rushamuzi, Rushamuzi is a man. Rushamuzi is a man. Now today Rushamuzi the silent. Rushamuzi the silent.
So I mean, I want to, because you see, for some reason, people had thought that DP wanted to cope from the democratic behavior of either the DP in Germany and the Democrats in Germany, or even Democrats in US. That humbleness of not being warmongers, of not being that radical, and for some reason, so many, they think that's why he did not even bother directly supporting you people when you are in the bush, because he wanted to be, I mean, he feared blood, like blood stains for some reason.
Yes.
And then and he saw himself at least coming and leading the opposition in parliament as a means to have harmonized politics. Isn't that the way this world should be run? that you shouldn't be at loggerheads with those you oppose?
It's wrong to speak ill of the dead. He has departed at the ripe age of 90 years old. And in any case, even if he had been very brilliant, he should be thinking of retiring, just as I'm urging our man Museveni, who I know from Byanyima, Boniface Byanyima. Boniface Byanyima was a Protestant, but married to a Catholic, a very formidable woman, the mother of Winnie Besige now. But when he asked me how old I was, I think I had just joined the government, but I always passed by him going to Kabale, our home, because his home was near me, and he would always say, George, come and have lunch with me on your way to Kabale, or coming back to campus. I knew him very well. So he asked me, how old are you? I think I was 42. I said, I'm 42. He said, oh, so you are only 2 years older than Museveni. So whereas I'm now 83, somebody recently told me Museveni now is 75, which means that he's growing younger and the younger as the years pass. But when I tell them, they don't want to believe it. When I tell them that, like me, President Museveni is the Minyakigezi, they want to kill me. Why? Why do people fear saying that? I don't know. So that is.
So in your view, he was too soft to manage Uganda?
81. Today, I'm 83. We are in the same age bracket. But in this morning the paper, I always read the papers before I have breakfast. Omong, speak openly, is fighting one of my Mchiga man, the Arugaba, the executive director of NSSF, saying the man is 60, he should retire. But she's led by a man of 81.
So in your view, Anita Among should rather ask her boss, who is 80 plus, to retire first before she...
Before 60 years old.
Before she asks
that.
that...
Judges, supposing I was a judge, you don't retire until you are 70. So if a judge can be still brilliant and continue working at the age of 70, why should an executive
director of
who has
NSSF
really done a great deal of work for NNSF, why should he be forced to retire at the age of 60? And Museveni has got an 80-year-old
managing all of us, the entire...
In the cabinet, him, Moses Ali,
Kasaija and others.
This way, we had Honorable Chibejinja. They were still governing this country in their 80s. So Among should revise herself and say, and you trying to force your brother to remove a speck from his eye, when actually you yourself have a beam blinding two of your eyes. No, it's not
going back to Mr. Kawanga and DP, what do you think is a fundamental problem with the DP as a party? Because in your intro, you said it is fond of working with government, even when there are no justifiable reasons. For example, Kawanga worked with NRM, rather with Obote, even when they had rigged his votes. And then he had definitely served as Minister for Internal Affairs, which Obote had given him, and definitely, which Tito Okello had given him. And when Museveni captured power, he maintained him as... but was it in good faith, or it was for purposes of...
When Museveni knows you are his rival, serious, he undermines you immediately. So for him to appoint
Minister Internal Affairs,
the late Semogere, and so that he can carry his brief wherever he goes. Remember, he was Minister of Foreign Affairs. So
Later
whenever
on.
the president wants to go to America,
You do go with him.
he would carry his briefcase. Whenever he wants to go to UK, he would carry his brief as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Whenever he wanted to go anywhere in Africa, especially, he had to carry the brief. You can't be a leader of a political party and continue carrying the brief of your opponent. No, wait. DP has been unfortunate. Very principled policies, very honest leaders, but they have lacked two things. To be a politician, you must have the killer instinct. None of them have had the killer instinct. Museveni, Chiza Besigye, they have it. Unfortunately, they happen to come from the same region of Kigezi, and people don't take them seriously. Otherwise, in my opinion, since independence, those are the two leaders whom we have had, who had a serious program, who continue to have it, and even when they are removed from office, like Chiza Besigye, they remain
Vibrant.
a firebrand and a power to be reckoned with. Same with my good friend Paul. Didn't
Lacked
have
that.
that. He didn't have the killer instinct. He was a gentle giant, and he rode on the back of the principles of DP, but he never himself became the rider he was always carried.
Okay, our viewers were with Justice Kanyeihamba trying to dig deeper into what has transpired in the previous week, but also before we now go to the Constitution, I want to ask you, Justice Kanyeihamba, this is in line with some bit of controversy that was seen in regards to his burial. What does the law say? Who qualifies for state burial? Because literally there was some bit of conflict between the family and the government, until definitely when the government more or less won the battle, for lack of another word, and he had were they 7 gunshots or something for
the burial of anybody should be determined by the family members
not the government.
of the deceased, not by government. If Janet and her son and daughters decide that Museveni should be buried at Lwachtura, even if he's president, that should be done. I had an example.
Even in Zimbabwe, by the way, it was the same problem with Zimbabwe. They had issues. They had wanted that Mugabe be buried at their site for the heroes or something, and the family wanted his body be taken to their village. It was a big event.
So I didn't know, but for me, there is no question about it.
It should be the family to determine.
I have that when God decided to take me from this world, I will be buried here in the Busika, in my land here, which part of which the Kawaka gave me. Because in Kabale, even today they are fighting when am I dying so they can take over my property. My relatives. So I said, I have asked my immediate family, who is my wife and the children. One of them is also here who is adopted. Between them, they should confirm my wish that I be buried here. And I hope you will be still around because you are associated with Kanyeihamba Foundation, which this house has been converted into. And however, if they should insist, not Kabale, if they say I should be buried in Rwanda, Kabale, my museum, the spirit will hold them. But they may decide that maybe because I grew up, worked in the UK, they want to take my body there. The 4 of them, I have 3 daughters and 1 son and a wife. They are the ones who take
They should
final
determine,
decision.
not the
I'll
government.
tell you what happened. I had a friend here called Pablo Bitararejo. He was a brilliant, what do you call them, these people who play chess. He was an international chess
player.
Then he died. He had a wife from Toro and his children, who obviously were Bachiga. Then his brother predeceased him. And when the children went there, he was buried in bushes. You couldn't tell that there is a grave there. So they said, we don't want our dad to end up like his brother, buried in an unknown grave, no inspiration. We want him to be buried here, where he bought us a home. And their mother supported them. I was the arbitrator because I was then a judge of the Supreme Court. So they asked me, the village people want him to be buried in Kamale. The chiefs in Kamale want him to be buried there. But his family wants him to be buried here in Kampala, in our residence we have known. I had no hesitation. I saying he must be buried where his
the family.
immediate family wants. And the tribe is buried near Gayaza here.
So, so meaning it was...
And the children and the widow, we are very, very happy.
So in your view, the government was not fair to insist that the burial, that the government goes ahead and fires its ammunition there at his burial, even when...
Not at all. When Semogere was the leader of the opposition, the leadership of the NRM, particularly Museveni, used to call him our enemies. How do you allow an enemy to bury your relative? Absurd. So it is wrong for government to have insisted that they will be taking charge of the funeral of Semogere. No, that's not correct.
Finally, in the very angle, does the state burial exhibit itself when they have the gunshots or when they bring the body to parliament? Because literally, if a person who was deputy, one of the deputy prime ministers, then foreign affairs, minister of internal affairs, what would be a bigger way to recognize him? Is it by taking the body to parliament, for, like what they call state burial, or simply they...
It means nothing whatsoever to the family of Semogere.
So as long as they don't want it.
I'll tell you something. When Mayombo died,
Brigadier at the time,
Mayombo, the government didn't want me to speak at his funeral. But the family insisted. A year later, I am the only one who they will allow to speak about their
son,
foreign gallant soldier, because they don't trust the Museveni's government, that if they allow Museveni government to celebrate his first anniversary, they will be accepting crocodile tears. So some of these so-called state burials, they are nothing more. I can tell you, I will not name that person, but I think people will guess. When I was food poisoned, Wakana Lugunda and Dr. Kwasibwe saved my life. Wakana Lugunda left his program and brought me to Kabale. And then, rather brought me to Kampala. They persuaded friends of mine that Kanyeihamba cannot survive
the
in hospital. So we need somebody faithful to look after him. A friend of mine who had children, younger children of her own, volunteered to look after me. And she came, stayed, put a mattress by my bed. I was vomiting, having that one. She would clean everything. She died. without me ever saying good thank you. But the government of the day sent an emissary cabinet minister who is still alive to say, go and see when Kanyeihamba is dying because I want to reshuffle my cabinet. That's wonderful.
Sad to note.
But God worked me seriously. It's now over 20 years. I am still alive. Not that I don't have AIDS, which they thought I was dying of. I might die of diabetes. I'm diabetic, blood pressure yet, but certainly not of AIDS or HIV. But the then leadership zone, when I was becoming very thin and like all victims of HIV look like, they say, please go and check when Kanyeihamba is dying, so I can reshuffle my cabinet. Is that love?
Definitely not. I want to ask you, because...
So on the better side, the same man, when they took me into a safe house, illegally, the police, he rescued me from there. Although I was very quick to. So that's why I am writing a book called Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, I Have Known, and Mr. Mugabe, I have never known.
Okay, obviously, thank you for watching. I have I think 2 questions before we go to the break. I want to ask, you have led so many commissions here.
Yes.
And I want to ask, and this is being, we don't want to attach any feelings to this question. In regards to the reports that your findings and the reports, on why some of the reports are never issued or made public. I'm asking this because we are aware that the late now, Paul Kawanga, he must have had a report about Kayida's assassination.
Yes.
What happens to such reports after you have made such reports?
Many people can make assumptions. In my opinion, some of those reports are not published because they would embarrass the ruling party and its leadership. I'll give you an example. I have already given you an example. The report about the death of Mayombo, Brigadier or
Brigadier Mayombo,
has never been published. That's one of the reasons his immediate family said on his 2nd anniversary of his death, I should be the one
to speak.
Not President Museveni, who was his commanding officer, not anyone else in the army where he had extinguished himself. By the way, in the CA, Mayombo, if you look at the pictures, he always sat behind me. And he was a very brilliant debater, committed. Many people think that had he lived, he would have been one of the natural successors to Museveni, without no doubt. One of his brothers,
Okwi Rabon, who
was put in jail.
he once joined Reform Agenda, but also in 1990s he's one of the escapees who went to fight with the PRA to capture Rwanda.
Absolutely. You know your history very well. Now, so having said that, going back to the state funerals.
To the reports.
Yes. Sometimes they are intended to be an apology by the ruling oligarchy. That we tortured him, we refused him to become president. By over apology, let us give him a state funeral. So state funeral, some are genuine, others are apologetic.
About the reports, Justice Kanyeihamba, why don't those reports come out? Is there a room that someday the reports would be out?
Let me tell you.
We have Kayida's report that has never come out. We have Mayombo's report. You have
on corruption in the ministry.
It has never
come out.
Yes. What happens?
And the president has got a copy because I delivered it personally to him.
Kawesi was assassinated, no reports. So many Muslim clerics.
The other one, I think, is the report about Kaira, who used to call me uncle.
Yeah, 19 when
Kigezi. Museveni said, "I'll forgive him." But what did he do? To forgive somebody, they must have done a wrong. Kaira, when not Kaira, sorry, the former IGP.
You mean Kawesi?
Yeah.
Kawesi.
Yes. He is alleged to have been assassinated. The report has never come out. Most of the very, very notorious reports, including I have done CD.
The one on Muslims, yours was published. Was it made public?
One, I made a report on corruption in the judiciary. Instead of disciplining some of the people,
Some were promoted.
They were promoted. That's the one.
Was it made public?
No.
Your report wasn't.
I sent copies to the media. I sent a copy to the chairman of the
Judicial
Service Commission. They interviewed me.
And archived everything. They didn't make it public.
But they never did anything.
What about the one for Muslims? Was it you? Which one? Which you also did you make it public?
Let me tell you that one is even more interesting. President Museveni personally picked me to be the chairman of the reconciliation meeting. My members were Gertrude Njuba.
And you had Hussein Chanjo at the time.
Who?
Didn't you said you had Hussein Chanjo?
Yeah, he was an interpreter, brilliant in Arabic, Uganda. He was. I remember he's now down.
Yeah.
Suspected to have been
poisoned also.
Yes. Then my other member of the committee was Silvano. Forget his name. Silvano, an old man, very good, brilliant linguist. So Silvano, you'll find it in my report because I have a copy here. And then, when some of the Muslims who were against our recommendation want to sabotage, President Museveni gave his own personal money to the tune of 4 million for Kanyeihamba to finish his report. Now, when I submitted this is very, very interesting, because we have 2 reports. One of them is a book which have been doctored to change what is
the content.
I wrote a book on Kanyeihamba's commentaries on Muslim leadership, quoting a lot of what Museveni said and others. Then I submitted the manuscript to Fountain Publishers, to Musime, the owner, my friend. The editor-in-chief was the late Banjirano, who died, Alex Banjirano. I gave it to him in my hands, because at that time I was managing Makerere bookshop. I think he was the manager. And I went there personally, gave it to him. He said, we shall publish it. Then he got sick. Remember, he eventually died. Do you know whom they gave it to? A man called Dr. Kisude of the Arabia, I think they call the Rebel or something like that. And they changed everything that I had submitted as my manuscript.
Is it the same trend with the reports, that some of these reports, the content changes between the commissioner of the report and where it is heading?
That's right. I can tell you too. A man called, I forget his name, he wrote a book about the Banyakigezi.
Is it
the Banyakigezi, their customs, land,
and totems.
Do you know who gave it forward as a Mnyakigezi?
President Museveni.
Museveni. You will Kabuta Museveni is the one who gave a forward. And when you read his forward, you have no doubt whatsoever that he's a Munyakigezi. Now let me tell you. And the author is called Kabananuchi. They have now changed the whole context. Museveni is no longer a Munyakigezi, is a Munyakuri. But what they forgot to change is the forward of that book.
Remains.
They forgot. It remains, and if you read it, you have no doubt that the writer is a Munyakigezi.
If I may ask.
So what I was saying, in my submissions, I was most sympathetic to the faction after Chibuli,
yeah.
headed by
Kakoza at that time.
I found that the one heading the old Kampala,
Sheikh Buemba,
who was supporting President Museveni, they were friends, was rather not well qualified to be Mufti, and he was there because the government
liked him,
supported him, as they sought all the Basoga. He claimed to be a Masoga, but we discovered he was a Muganda who had been living in Musoga. But to use that one and be loved by the ruling party, he claimed he was a Musoga because Musoga was supporting the movement. And I was happy with it because I studied in the media. That's why I did my O-level. So, this Dr. Chisule, I think he's still alive, and Radita of Saudi Arabia combined and changed everything.
Content in what would have been in the
content. I had written. I will give you a copy.
So does this mean?
So they changed everything.
The content.
The book is here. If you read it
and read the original, they are different.
Yes, they are totally different. But it is written by Kanyeihamba. But
different content.
It was about over 200 pages. The extra 200 was written by Dr. Sule and Rabita of Saudi Arabia without my knowledge. But they published it under my name. So unfortunately, Mr. Banjana has passed on, so we cannot ask him. I have written to Mr. Tumusine
of Fountain.
Yes. He's a brother, very interesting. He's a lawyer. So we appeared in that case where I defeated the President Museveni about the leadership of the judiciary. I defeated Museveni when he renominated Odochi to become Chief Justice when he was over 70 years.
We have 30 minutes to go for a break.
Let me finish this one. So I was also suing my former student Kavuma, who was Deputy Chief Justice, for some reason. Do you know what he did? He called some judges to give him advice. Can you imagine judges giving advice to a litigant? So, Tumsini's brother confessed. When he went to court, they said, where were you late? Why didn't you serve Kanyeihamba? He said, we were with some judges advising Kavuma how to win his case. That is a judge who is supposed to be neutral
and impartial,
and there be no respect of persons. They were giving him advice. Judges! How to defeat Kanyeihamba.
In these 3 minutes to go for a short break, in the event that you are given an assignment as a commissioner to investigate something, and you hand in your report and it's not published, is there anything you can do as someone who led the...
Yeah, you can publish it to the whole world.
Isn't that treason?
My report on the corruption in judiciary is worldwide, everywhere. I sent a copy to the BBC. I sent a copy to Kenyan newspapers. By the way, compared to that, I also investigated the corruption in the Kenyan judiciary, and my report was totally accepted and implemented. And the Kenyans, including the government, thanked me for work done. I went also to investigate the judiciary in Swaziland. So that was a different name. And the minister and the attorney general and the prime minister rubbished it. I remember the attorney general saying, any Swazi who had got the report of the so-called Professor Kanyeihamba, please put it in the fire. This is a very, very interesting thing your readers should listen to. Then Britain, France, and Germany complained, said, if Kanyehamba's report is not implemented, we shall withdraw
the support.
aid, telling the king of Swaziland. I was accompanied to the airport by military escort because they thought I could be killed by those
because of your report.
my report. Then the king held on for about 1 or 2 years without implementing the report. These people withdrew aid.
The aid.
Then, let me tell you what happens in this country. Then the king decided to sack the prime minister and the attorney general. The prime minister was his uncle. So he sacked me. Then the king sent his own brother David, Prince David, to come here not only to thank me, but to say, we hear you are going to retire. We would like you to come to Switzerland, become our chief justice for 5 years, sort out our mess. David came, I was sitting in the judiciary. He greeted other people. When I hear that one judge, who obviously wanted the job, said Kanyeihamba is very controversial.
He will not manage your case.
Yes. So they offered him the job, but within a month or so, they discovered he's most unsuitable. He was sacked. But I was never appointed. Now, I had been also offered the job of Chief Justice of Seychelles. And then, unknown to me, one Ugandan money magnet was their counsel. So when I had been nominated to be Chief Justice of Seychelles, and all this is on record. You can even ask the government of Seychelles or of Swaziland, they will give you this record, and that I had been nominated to be their Chief Justice. Then, when the Ugandan heard, he said, Kanyeihamba, your country will be on fire.
If he becomes...
He said there as Chief Justice, because he's a very controversial and a no-nonsense judge. So the king, whether the government of Switzerland, appointed his own nominee that Uganda. But you know, this that brings me to that funeral. State funeral. That same gentleman called me to be guest of honor on a group which was doing work for the government. The rest you can read it in my book called The Blessing and the Joy of You Are. That's why I am very suspicious of honors, burial, state funerals.
Okay.
They usually come to see, to attend, and to ensure whether the person, the funeral they are holding is really dead.
Okay, viewers, we're coming back shortly in a minute, and there are so many other controversial questions we have for Justice Kanyeihamba. We'll be back in just in a minute. Let's break and come back. Don't go away. We are still here with you.
If they could also.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
Naku zino twajirwa flat tummy. Tukyayambala ko ngoyo obutukwata.
Wajana ku body shaming. Speak up. Gendo ba confronting gay. Obagambe ekyo kyemukola si kirungi.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Digitalk mukwano gwange gwali topic kiri wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
Nga tize tata wange amanyira nkola n'obuvunanyizibwa nyina bungi. Era agezaako n'anyamba yambako yanda. Naye kumukubira kumubuuzaako. Noga mama we bali kunzaala.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships?
Come and visit, call me. Simanyanga I miss you bichi. Especially embeera y'obudde si nnungi.
Naye n'omuntu akwagalira mu season yaba takwagala ze nkubuulira.
Just be commenting a topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujja kwa tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Digitalk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, thanks our viewers. We are back with Justice Kanyeihamba. We're still digging deeper into what has been happening, and in those last minutes we shall also now tackle because the Constitution, definitely there's some concerns that people are raising that they would want Justice Kanyeihamba to address, but we hadn't concluded the issue with the reports.
Yes.
And when we were off record, someone texted and asked that there seems to be a conflict between the Speaker of Parliament and the chairperson Kosase, who happens to be Joel Senyonyi. The accusation here is that it is alleged that Senyonyi leaked the Kosase report in regards to the Uganda Airlines to the public. So this person was asking, isn't it illegal that a commissioner issues such a report before being sanctioned? Is it supposed to be approved by he who or she who that sent you?
No. A commissioner is appointed as somebody who's level-headed, who has got integrity. That's why you appoint him. So when he issues a report on a public institution, that report is a public knowledge. It should not be hidden. I have already told you that when the family of Mayombo invited me to speak on his second anniversary of his death, some government people wanted to stop me speaking. That report has never been in public. My report on the corruption in the judiciary, not only was it given to the newspaper, Monitor and New Vision, but it was given to the chairman personally. Who is the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission?
At the time, apparently, I'm not sure. I mean, at the time when
but
you
what
did...
I gather, he is a judge.
Yeah, from High Court.
Or he was a former judge of the High Court. How do you appoint a mere judge of the, to look at the reports of people who deal with these judgments on appeal, judges of the Court of Appeal? That was the wrong thing in the first place. How do you appoint a judge of the High Court to be chairman of the Judicial Service Commission when his own appointment or promotion depends on the recommendation of the judge? It's absurd. You should. That's why we said the one to represent the judiciary on that committee should be a judge of the Supreme Court. Because that's the High Court in the land.
In the event that...
So, no, I wanted to ask you. So, supposing you are a judge of the Supreme Court, and a mere judge of the High Court is your boss.
Or even a magistrate.
Isn't that absurd? Museveni ignored the constitutional provision that the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission should be either a judge of the court, that court, or one qualified to be one. I think a judge of the High Court is qualified to be promoted of the Court of Appeal, but not to
head the Judicial Service Commission.
A judge of the equivalent to the Supreme Court, simply because the president
has appointed
willing him to be, for a different reason, chairman of the Judicial Commission. That one is wrong in the first place. I have been wanting to see the current chairman
of the Judicial Service Commission.
Yes, then I see. You are above, rather you are below the Chief Justice. You are below
whom you are supposed to supervise in any case.
You are below the judges of the Court of Appeal.
How will you supervise them?
You know that when you go back to the judiciary, which will be, you will be very subordinate to them. Are you likely to accept that they are corrupt when they are above you?
Not really. So if in the event that for example, the family members of, let's say Kawesi, maybe the family members of Kaira, is there any constitutional mandate that they have to force the government to issue to them such a report about the deaths of their family members?
You see, I didn't even know that it never happened.
It was never published.
I am ignorant. I saw that
they even got Scotland Yard came here.
The opinion of the family members should prevail.
So can they run? Can they challenge it? Can they?
The power of the where I agreed with the family that since they wish him to be buried in Kampala and not in Kabale, their view should prevail.
So can the family petition court that the government issues to them, hands over the report to them?
I think we are dealing in virgin ground. It happened in Kenya, and I think the family won. So they could use that as
precedent.
A precedent to challenge our own system here.
That they should be given a report. As far as I understand, you hosted the minister, the state minister for lands.
Yes.
And the public was interested in what your discussion was about.
Yes.
Did you people execute the demolition of what is at on your land?
Where is it? I'm going to give you something which you should read in the media.
Okay.
It is true. I went and visited the minister, Dr.
Mayanja, I think.
I invited him to come with me to my land, which had been captured by a thief, a man called Mbazia.
Assisted
with a foreigner
and this OC
Sasu, the chairman of a company called...
And your police man, you never forget what is the name, Lokech? Komakech. And Komakech.
Then I called the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Kasigazi, whom I knew before as a gentleman. I said, I am going tomorrow to Dewe village. Please send police officers to protect me while I demolish the building and a land of flower has put there. He said, I'll send them. I'll send a team of our police to guard you while you are demolishing. I didn't know that I think it's the general
General Kasigazi
can be so intimidated. So he was intimidated by the corrupt. That instead of saying people to guard demolishing the legal building, he sent a team of lawyers to protect, rather to stop me demolishing the building. General is calling me, and you may know him. Please give him a question when you are here. That it is true, Professor Kanyeihamba appealed for you to give me assistance to demolish illegal building in his land, but instead you push the man with the machine gun to protect it against Kanyeihamba. Ask him on that question. I think your readers will be very interested to know the answer. But back to your story.
The minister comes here last Wednesday.
The minister comes here. And I'm going to give you a cutting I have. You can, if any readers wants you to read it, you can read it. The minister came here. He was annoyed that anybody could take the land of a former judge of Uganda and get away with it. So he said, I am going tomorrow. There were about half a dozen journalists.
Yeah.
The pictures that are taken there, you can look at it. And he said, I'll come tomorrow, which was a
Thursday.
And we go together. And I demolish that building. So long as I can prove that you are the true owner of the land, and that the local people can also confirm that the man has built in your land. So we had gone there with the good groups. I want to demonstrate to the whole country that LC1 committee has the powers in their local area to demolish such a building when they know it belongs to somebody. I even broadcast it nationwide. And say, anybody who wants to come, I will facilitate them with the transport. A representative of the Kabale municipality came to witness as demolishing that illegal meeting building. Then when we arrived there, I told the DPC of Kajansi by Komakech. His name, Komakech, you'll be in history forever. And he said, yes, I got instruction from General Kasigazi to proceed and protect the worker there. He didn't mention what work. When I got there, we found 2 policemen guarding the building. And when I wanted to go beyond where they had removed my sign saying this land is not for sale, Bazir had removed it. And he's coming to see me because I'm his friend. He never turned up, but my informant told me that he was actually there supervising the completion of the building I was putting.
So what is the status now?
So let me tell you. So Dr. Mayanja, whom I really respect even now, came here. Remember, we were told he has cancelled
many titles.
over 100 titles. But it seems nobody's team, we don't know. Is it a true story or not? Because now I am challenging him. Give us the copies of the titles you have cancelled.
Cancelled.
Because
most likely they are gazetted.
So he's the one who brought the reporters here to this house. He summoned that the police would come. And they will go last Friday. And he demolishes it. You will see that in that document I'm going to give you, he states publicly that if somebody enters your land illegally, you have a right to demolish what they have put there, so long as you can prove that they are the owner
that land
and that the witness is there, else is that show you are the owner. So he said, these are the words of Dr. Mayanja. I am going there tomorrow, and if Kanyeihamba proves
that the land
is his, we shall demolish it in his presence, and in the presence of what he called those corrupt people. So everybody was waiting for him. About 20 people waiting to accompany him in a convoy. I even gave them money. Those who didn't have fuel. We waited. He was supposed to come here at midday. We waited. The man never turned up. He never turned up. And I'm asking those who came here and who were waiting at the government to write to the Ministry of Land to refund their money.
So the minister did not turn.
He didn't turn up here. Then his personal assistant, by the way, who is the son of Mirundi somebody, he was very anxious. He called him 10 times. He didn't come. And then the secretary told us that he's in a meeting with the anti-government unit chaired by a general. And that they are in a meeting. Then he told the secretary also that Honorable Kanyeihamba is in that meeting.
So literally the minister, after he had come here, he did not go ahead. On Wednesday, he came on Wednesday.
He came on the Wednesday.
Pledged it, and so you can go together. And
but on that day,
he didn't come.
Lawyers, what do you call them? Journalists whom he had himself called were here, sitting here in my house, waiting. Then I had told the LCs
that
and the other people, neighbors, you wait, I am coming with the minister to demonstrate that if somebody puts a structure, you can demolish it. So let me tell you what happened. Mayanja, I wish we could call him now on your program, and they will say, what happened? You are the one who summoned all these journalists.
And he disappeared in the air.
Kanyeihamba, but you never turned up. So let me tell you what happened. Because we are running out of time. But I hope you will follow this story up.
We definitely do.
The most interesting story to happen on land in Uganda today. So, his personal assistant, very worried, called him. He said, I can't find him. He never called me again. He has never called me again. But he's the one who volunteered to come and
to help.
So Kanyeihamba had gone, I didn't know. Because he said to tell me he's meeting with the general and the Minister Mayanja. I believed the secretary. But she had also been told lies. And I apologized to Joanna Kanyeihamba because what they were saying was a lie. He had been called suddenly, a relative had died, in Bunyoro. So while they were telling all these lies, she was in Bunyoro. She didn't even know what was happening. So when she came back, I said, Joanna, your people, the minister has told a lie. He's a minister of this government, Mayanja. Oh, Katoni. Museveni, are you listening? You once said that the police are the most corrupted.
Now the ministers are the most lying.
The most lying.
What do we say? The
One
most
who is
deceptive.
in charge of the police in Uganda
The most
today,
deceptive as well.
a relative of mine is a cousin, Major General Kaindo Tafiri. He has stolen money from me, 250 million, and he appoints him
To
to
lead
be in
the...
charge of the police, whom he says they are the most corrupt. Museveni, please, retire tomorrow.
So that he can retire with his people.
Yes, let me tell you. So, Kategaya, when he had the news, she was so annoyed.
Have you tried to call the minister yourself on phone?
So many times, I even call on other people's numbers. I think he's suspecting I'm the one who, I am now. Anybody who calls him, it is Kanyeihamba. Even if he's called by the dead Queen of England, he will think it is me. He cannot answer. And that's why I'm saying, even past there, because his office is on Parliament Avenue.
Yeah.
You please go there.
He might,
even if you don't find him,
he might think it's you has come. No.
Ask the secretary. He said, where is the minister? He's hiding from.
So where does that put the entire country, which in your view seems to be led by liars?
Kategaya came here with 3 lawyers, and they were very furious. They said, don't even go there. You have shown us a copy of your title. The LC made a statement on television saying this land belongs to Kanyeihamba. We are going to demolish it. We are looking for bailiffs to help us. So it will be demolished by Mrs. Kategaya. She has demolished another one before. So I believe her, and I believe those lawyers. So that's where we are. But the minister, I am appealing to the whole world of journalists and the reporters, please find where he is. He's hiding from me. And challenge him. Why did you summon all the reporters and the lawyers to go to Kanyeihamba? And then you lied.
That you would come back.
But instead you went to see the collapse, to see how you avoid Kanyeihamba demolishing the building of your briber. Ask him that. Please don't wait for the next term. Get a minute. I'll give you his number, the number of the general,
and the number of the minister for lands.
His secretary, Mr. Miruni.
The son, yeah, the PA.
Yeah. Because he was in tears here. How can my minister hide from Kanyeihamba? And then that story, they twisted it. They said, I am the one who visited him, not him.
Not him coming here.
Mayanja, please, I don't know whether you're a relative of my former friend, Abu Mayanja, but please, not only have you disgraced yourself, you have disgraced your government and the president who appointed you. If I were you, if I had the council, you had the council, I would offer my resignation tomorrow.
For not fulfilling. Okay.
Because you have shamed everybody.
In our remaining...
You have ashamed the reporters, you have ashamed the lawyers, you have ashamed the LC, and they produced the list of those you have cancelled. Over 500. You are telling lies, aren't you?
Okay, our viewers with Justice Kanyeihamba. Now in our remaining minutes, we want to, again, because we couldn't leave these issues untouched, they were key, want to revisit our chapter 4, and in particular, Article 23, protection of personal liberty. So Article 1 here is that no person shall be deprived of of personal liberty except in any of the following. Execution of sentence, that one is understood. I want to believe so. But there is where we have what seemed great. This is Article 3. A person arrested, restricted, or detained shall be informed immediately in a language that the person understands of a reason for the arrest, restriction, or detention, and of his or her right to a lawyer of his or her choice. Here, when we are grabbed by CMY in March, because here, when I have interest, they are saying the language that this person understands. So the presumption that the yet to be arrested understand Swahili with wewe simama. I mean, how does it come? Because literally that's the language they use. So which presumption, which law do your colleagues depend on to begin with? They are wewe and simama.
Today, for arresting and detaining people, they are using Django law. They lend credence to it by claiming, as in my case, that I am mentally sick, unable to look after my own affairs. I think anybody listening to me, they know that is a lie. And that's what I'm saying. The Constitution was supposed to be the supreme law of the land of Uganda. They have reduced it to the same level as an advisory opinion. This presumption that you has a time limit. It was unadvisory. They removed it. There was age limit. It was unadvisory. They removed it without any ceremony. When Parliament is hostile to a proposal by the executive, the president uses a caucus. The word the caucus is not in our constitution. What is a caucus? Is it a caucus of the law? My friend.
So where
nobody knows why God has kept me cool.
Whom would we blame? The arresting officer for not understanding the law, but you were there and you used it to lecture them at
I blame the judiciary, first of all. These cases are taken to the judge. How can a judge who is in their purpose, an MP is tortured, is arrested? We have people like Sewanyana, the lady from Mukono, what is her name?
Betty Namboze.
They have been hospitalized because of the actions of the police. Yet torture is prohibited totally by our constitution. Torture is one of those rights which is entrenched that shall never be used even in war. And they hate on the authorities of the president or government, and in particular the decisions, whimsical decision of the late Tumine. People have been tortured, people have been jailed, people have been killed, and no action comes. If you read newspapers today, which are circulating regularly, monitor. I was recruited by the Aga Khan secretary himself. That as long as you are alive and able, write articles which must be published by a monitor. The general editor today used to be a friend of mine, called Kalinachi. Even when I call him, he doesn't answer.
If the
He has become a slave of money and intimidation. I personally own New Vision. I own 1,700 shares. And I am a co-founder when William Pike was the editor general. He used to get my advice all the time. They no longer call me to the meeting of shareholders, but I am one of them. They no longer publish my articles. The only one they published, advertising for something, I think, giving a news, I had to pay 5 million shillings for this to appear there. And then the man who wrote that article no longer answers my question. I think he may be in detention for just publishing an opinion and earning 5 million shillings for the newspaper New Vision. He may be in jail.
In the remaining minute, Justice Kanyeihamba, this paragraph here confuses many, and I want you to get your insights before we close today's show. In the case of an offense triable only by High Court, if that person has been remanded in custody for 180 days before the case is committed to High Court, that person shall be released on bail on such conditions as court considers reasonable.
Yes, that's
what did you mean?
We meant that it would be intolerable and against humanity for a person to remain untried or even unmentioned for even if they have committed
a second. Sorry, let's begin with the B. Let's begin with the B.
Yeah.
In the case of an offense which is triable by High Court as well as by subordinate court, if that person has been remanded in custody in respect of the offense for 60 days before trial, that person shall be released on bail on such conditions. So this B and C, what did you mean?
Let's take it in the past. If you have been detained for 60 days without trial, then the law is saying to you, the Constitution, you must automatically be released. No trial, nothing else.
That's an automatic release.
Yes, that's right. Then if you are taken
to High Court, now C says in the case of the offense triable only by High Court, if that person has been
indictable offenses, very serious offenses.
Yes.
In the case of that,
and this person has been remanded in custody for 180 days before the case is committed to High Court, that person shall be released on bail on such conditions as the court considers reasonable.
That's right. What they are saying is that if further a person is still untried, even by
the very High Court, even when they committed him there,
High Court has delayed to try them, although he was mentioned in the High Court, and 180 days. Because what they are saying, if the Court of Appeal, rather the court,
the magistrates
decides that he will be tried in another month or 2 months, that prevails. But if that period extends, even though the court has said so, for 180 days, again, what we have said applies.
So this is what now confuses us. What would now be the fate of the legislators that have been in jail, and literally the trials haven't kicked off? It's now they are playing hide and seek.
When I was Minister of Justice and Attorney General, there was even an added safeguard for suspects. I had agreed with the President Museveni that no MP or permanent secretary could be jailed at all, even one day, without the advice of the Attorney General, of which I was then. And he agreed. And it worked twice. In my absence, they jailed Moses Ali and Omar Atubu. When I came, I offered to resign. And I'm telling Chagrani, never threaten to resign or boycott anything unless you know the consequences. I knew that Museveni respected me then. And if I resigned, and I gave the reason why I'm resigning, the whole country would be with me, even as it is now. So he withdrew his orders for Moses Ali
and Atubu
to be detained, and Moses
and Atubu, Omar Atubu.
They sued the government, and they awarded substantial sums of money for illegal detention, contrary to the advice of the Attorney General, which was me, and contrary to the law.
In fact, this is what is even here on Sabbatical 7, that a person unlawfully arrested, restricted or detained by any other person or authority shall be entitled to compensation from that person or authority.
Moses Ali, I believe he's now in his 80s or plus. And Omar, you can ask them when you live here. They got compensation as
under this sabbatical
on
7.
my advice as Attorney General. Attorney General is an advisor to the government. He's not a slave to government. There's many of our ministers, many of our Attorney Generals
have become slaves rather.
Grateful and subordinate to the executive. God help you.
Okay, conclusively, does that mean in your, okay, not simply in your view, as per this constitution, that these gentlemen, the honorable members of parliament, who have now, they have definitely clocked a year, if I'm not mistaken, in jail, and the trial doesn't seem to kick off? Isn't that, in your view, is that a constitutional breach? Or
in my opinion, and considering all the evidence, they are illegally detained. They ought to be given very substantial compensation. Because you see, the president is supposed to be a wise man or woman, for that matter. How would the police charge somebody with killing elderly people, very frail elderly people, for political reasons? Why? It is not logical. And not only that, but he is alleged to kill them, not in his constituency. No, we don't know whether they supported President Museveni or the NRA. Can't you even stop thinking for 2 minutes and they say this is ridiculous? But they have been in jail for 1 year. They are entitled to be. But let me tell you, they can be compensated in billions of shillings. And I hope they would. But nothing will ever restore the life and the health of those who were tortured, like in Amboise.
And others.
They will never recover, and there is no compensation in the world.
That is worth someone's life for.
Yes, which is worth it.
In a minute, so who is to blame for this mess? Because if the executive is doing its role, wouldn't the judiciary do something?
I have the judiciary is to blame for being intimidated. I am waiting very anxiously, and I'm not trying to threaten for 2 judgments. I want them to be on record. Let your listeners put on record. I am waiting for 2 judgments. One is our judgment on our petition protecting the right to bail. You have already read that one should be decided at the discretion of the court, and I agree with that. But President Museveni is a clever man. When he heard we were suing him on the right of bail, he withdrew from the threat. He said, it was matter to the police and their discretion. Now we are waiting
for that judgment.
When I put in our submissions, and the court allowed us that we should submit, the respondents, Museveni naturally can say, I withdrew, so we have no problem with that. But the Attorney General, whose knowledge and the procedures of Uganda law is next to nothing, and the NRM are putting in, they said they would defend, but they have not put in their written submissions as the court ordered. So they are in total contempt
of court.
Of the constitutional court. So we are waiting for a judgment.
That is the first.
I put there all my reasons. I put there my submissions on the orders of the court. I have put them there. But the respondents, the Attorney General, the NRA, President Museveni, I think has got an excuse, he withdrew, have not put in there.
The second,
and therefore,
the second judgment?
In a row, we call that legal knockout by technicality. I have knocked them out.
In the last minute,
the next one,
the next judgment.
We sued the Banyakigezi. We owned the bank called Kigezi Bank of Commerce. And we had what they call preferential shares and all that, saying it will never leave Kigezi. Maybe you, our neighbors, the Banyankole, we could allow you to buy some shares, but you would only buy them as the debenture holders. Debenture. It's the word of that word. Means you are not owner, but the bank is indebted to you because you lent the money. Those are called debentures, not shares. Now, when Justice Chidiabwile was promoted, we think deliberately to avoid this case, to the Court of Appeal. He was replaced by a compromised judge. I forget his name, but you see it in newspapers. Who, having adopted Brother Justice Chidiabwile's previous findings, suddenly changed. We don't know whether there was a storm or whatever. Suddenly changed. The plaintiff, that's us, have not proved that they lost anything. Please let the world hear that. The plaintiff, we were plaintiffs then, have not proved
that you lost anything when the bank was taken.
But we had lost a bank, we had lost our building, our shares. And here is a landed judge saying, we have not proved we lost anything. Is this world mad? So we appealed. The appeal has been pending for 8 years. We appealed in 2014, nothing happened. But I am very grateful for the current Court of Appeal. They seem to really believe in justice and to say cases must be decided. So they have resumed that case after 8 years. And they eventually said parties must be heard in writing. We should submit written submission. I did mine on behalf of the other appellants, 320 and Kanyeihamba. The court ordered the respondents, who are Mbabazi, Amama Mbabazi, my friend, and Mr. Nzei, the owner and proprietor of Prof. I am the one, when I was Minister of Commerce, who helped him to establish that by giving him some tea, rather some sugar, to build that empire.
Okay,
but he used it
to fight you again.
Me of my bank shares. But let me tell you.
Finally.
Yeah. So the court ordered them, Nzei and Mbabazi to respond within 5 days to my submissions on behalf of the appellant.
When are the 5 days expiring?
They expired a long time ago. So in that case also,
you are actually waiting for that.
I have inflicted a technical knockout. The respondents. Knockout means the court has ordered you to do a certain thing,
and you haven't.
In relation to that case, and you have just contemptuously ignored the court.
Okay.
So these are the two cases. We are waiting. Yesterday, we don't have time, I will tell you what happened. They've been banking because I am not well with my feet. So they are banking, I told them, the registrar, she's very corrupt. And they want to say it openly so she can challenge me in court. I will win again. She's been putting the case when she thought I was in the hospital so they can lie to the court when I'm not there. Yesterday was one of those. I was supposed to go for a checkup in the hospital. She told she said the appeal on tomorrow, rather yesterday. When she knew I wouldn't be there. When I turned up, there was everybody who was on the other side were shaking like a leaf. One man I saw, he was sweating. then I told the judge, he said, Kanyeihamba, because I'm senior counsel goes first. They never told me who they were. Otherwise, I would have, in law, introduced them also that I am Kanyeihamba, I represent the petitioner, rather the appellant, and my colleagues, Moses, whatever, represent the opposition. That is the normality you do in court. Right. They didn't tell me their names, so I don't know who they were.
Because they were shaking like leaves.
So finally, the court had me, and they said, you have had Professor Kanyeihamba. You must respond in writing to what he has said. Otherwise, we shall have, but in any case, we shall have thereafter fix the date of judgment. That is where we are. Okay. Those are the two cases
that you are actually waiting for.
Very happily and eagerly waiting
for their judgment.
So.
Our viewers, I will not add the sentence, just to wish you a good day and definitely see you tomorrow and all our subsequent shows on the Alternative Uganda and Digitalk TV. May God bless one and bless all. For God and my country.
Much. Thank you, Norman.
Please.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.